Hi everyone. In this tips and tricks video, I'll modify a map to make a custom exploration encounter. I'll show you a load of tools and techniques suggested by a Discord community, and I hope you'll find these useful for your own sessions too. If you have a paid subscription to Owlbear Rodeo, in addition to getting more cloud storage and more concurrent rooms, you can also customize each room's name and backdrop image when you create it. I'll make a room with my party's name, the Abyssal Raiders, along with a backdrop that's themed to match their campaign, which should keep them in the mood whenever there's no scene loaded there. Okay, so in my custom room I can see the backdrop and I'm going to load in the scene I want to develop further. I have my base map in here already, which is from Czepeku. And I've collected a number of potential prop tokens from Forgotten Adventures, which I think might work in this scene, and I'm going to bulk import them together using the same settings to save time. Each of them happens to have their grid dimensions in their file name, but because I can quickly and easily adjust individual tokens, either in my asset manager or in a scene, I'm happy to override those. So I'm choosing to import them all as one column wide, and by default they'll all be visible and unlocked when added to my scene. When they're imported, you'll see them all arranged by creation date, but I can change the sorting to alphanumeric if I prefer. Now that these are all in my props category in the asset manager, I'm going to make a folder for them and drop them all into it to keep things tidy in the asset dock. I can choose its name and colour, and then I can multi-select the relevant prop tokens with the Shift and/or Control keys as needed, and simply drag them inside their folder. Closing the asset manager, you can see that in the scene I'm able to expand or contract the folder in the asset dock to show or hide its contents. I can also drop this folder from the dock into my scene to get one copy of each token and then position, scale, rotate and lock them as desired. Firstly, I don't need this open trapdoor, so let me delete that. You'll see why later. Let's make this marble plinth a little bigger and let's sort through these other things. Okay, so let's put the bedroll and the blanket together along with the dagger. They need to go by the entrance. And let's place the journal on the plinth along with the canteen. So then I'll multi-select the dagger, the blanket and the bedroll, and then I'm going to drag them down to the entranceway. You can see that at the moment they are snapping to the grid, but if I hold down the Control key, then I can bypass snapping and get smooth rotation and override that grid snap. Again, here with the dagger, I can hold Control to rotate it smoothly and also move it precisely into position. But everything really needs to be under these grid lines, so I'm going to select all with Control and A, and then in the layers move everything into the map layer, which means that they now all appear underneath the grid lines and blend in nicely with the map itself. Now in the second hallway I'm going to move this basin because I want to put a trap in here. Let's just enlarge this. I want to fill this basin with some dubious looking liquids, so with my drawing tools I'm going to turn off the outline and I'm going to set the fill colour to be a putrid teal and about 1/3 transparent. While I'm here in the colour picker, I'll click the plus button to show you how to add a new preset. You can choose the hue, saturation and luminosity with this picker, or enter a hexadecimal colour code and can either save or cancel your new preset. Okay, now with the circle tool I'll just fill that basin up, and with the marquee tool I'll select the basin and the liquid and move them into the centre of the room. I also want to make an overflowing spill that's snaking across the floor in a menacing fashion. So back to my drawing tools and select the brush so that I can draw that freehand. This is going to be a trigger for the trap. Let's join together the basin and the overflow by selecting both and clicking the join function from the overflow menu, no pun intended, and you can see that they now act as a single item. This join feature is great for making complex shapes out of several items, which can be really useful if you draw your own maps on a blank background. I also want a larger pool across this floor. From this, a corrupted water elemental will appear and attack anyone who triggers this trap. can see that the two transparent shapes have an obvious overlap between them, which I don't like, so I want to get rid of that. Let me trim the overflow shape from the pool itself. I'm just going to move the overflow to bring it to the front, then also select the pool behind it, and when I click on trim, it will cut out the shape of the overflow from the pool, which you can see here. The overlap is gone, and when I move the pool you can see a perfect cutout. Now I'll hide the pool until that trap is triggered. Next, I have a map handout here. You can see how it's still quite clear at this high level of zoom, and I'm going to place it as a clue to the previous explorer's progress, but I'm going to shrink it right down to the same scale as a journal page and leave it for the players to find, just poking out from underneath the book on that square marble pedestal. I'll just rotate it to a jaunty angle, and then I'm going to move the journal in order to bring it to the front, and then again move the canteen to have that on top of the journal. Now with the marquee tool I'm going to select all 4 of those items, and then let's place them in this central chamber. Great. Owlbear Rodeo's extremely wide zoom range can be used to place high-res handouts amongst the clutter of a map without them becoming grainy or pixelated. I can go from looking at the whole location map to just one small item in a single grid square with just a couple of zoom scrolls. Okay, next let's place this trapdoor, which is going to be a shortcut of sorts if the party can work out how to unlock it. So I'm going to put it in this first hallway here. And when they solve the puzzle, I'm going to swap it out seamlessly with the open trapdoor image that you saw me upload earlier. The replace image function allows me to choose any image within my asset manager and simply swap it in. So let me do that again in reverse. I choose replace image and then the closed trapdoor asset, and instantly that's updated in the scene. Now you can also do that with character tokens you can wild shape or polymorph into other forms. So let's add a druid character here, and that character can wild shape, so I can use replace image, go into my characters and choose something suitable like a wild boar. And now my druid is a boar. I can reverse that again when they drop their wild shape and put them back into their normal druid form. There's another use for replace image, which is to repair any deleted assets that show in your scene as an orange question mark proxy. If you look at the proxy's accessibility details, you can see the original image's name, so you can re-upload that image if needed, and then use replace image to find the correct asset in your cloud storage and relink the proxy to the original file, recovering the image that you accidentally lost. I think we're ready for some PC tokens, so I'm going to recall one of my prefabs. There's a separate video about the prefabs extension, so I'll select my party here and drop them all onto the map, hopefully avoiding the lava. There we go. Let's select the text tool just because I want to update their labels and show you that you can use emoji in any of the text fields within your scenes. So, for example, you could use emoji to distinguish visually between the different tokens, particularly when they appear in long lists of text, such as in extensions that track initiative, or measure distances between tokens, or allow text chat between any characters in the scene. This helps you find your party and any other VIPs amidst the sea of characters present. Okay, let me select all of those with the lasso tool. And add them to the initiative tracker, and then on the left side you can see that each of these characters has their own symbol in front of their name. You could also use emoji to indicate buffs or nerfs that apply to a token and can track conditions that way, regardless of whether they are player characters or NPCs. Finally, let's talk a little bit about player permissions. You can see that my rogue player has joined my room, and if I open the player permissions and enable owner only for character tokens, then I can assign ownership of the rogue token to that player alone, which means that they can interact with their own token and other players can't. However, they can't adjust any token that they don't own. But as GM, I can always interact with anything in my room. These granular player permissions can be extremely useful, fine-tuning the controls for your players to interact with all kinds of assets and tools within your room, according to their familiarity with Owlbear Rodeo, as well as their level of maturity. If you've enjoyed these features, why not join us in the Owlbear Rodeo Discord server, or for more videos about Owlbear Rodeo, subscribe on YouTube, or just click another video to keep watching.